Hey everybody, Sharon here from VidGamiac.com. Here we are today back in the Final Fantasy X HD Remaster, grabbing the Learning Achievement. This is to learn all of the Lancet abilities. You are going to be taught about Lancet once you get to the second major area of the game, once you're in Spira. So once you are in the Kilika Woods, you get this tutorial. Lulu is going to teach you about Lancet. It is going to be one of Kamari's abilities. If you use it on certain enemies, you can learn that enemy's ability and use it as one of Kamari's overdrives. So this first one is given to you as a freebie. You are going to fight this plant thing called a Ragora, and all you have to do is just use Lancet on it. So go to Special, use Lancet. You have to do it since it's a tutorial, and you should get your first ability. Now, there are going to be a total of 10 more abilities that you can learn over the course of the game. I will be pointing these out the first time they're made available to you. Keep in mind, you can come back to these once you get the airship, as well as using the monster arena. Also, these enemies are going to have stronger variants later on, which also give you the abilities. So just think of these as the first time they are made available to you. So first one is going to be in the Mihen High Road. You should come across this enemy called the Dual Horn along your way. Make sure you Lancet it for the ability Fire Breath. The second type of enemy you can find here is going to be the Bomb. Make sure you use Lancet on this to learn Self-Destruct. And once again, these guys do have stronger variants that appear later on. So if you miss it here, you can Lancet those guys later and get the same ability. You only have to do it once per Lancet ability, so you don't have to worry about constantly using Lancet on everything you see. But the next one is going to be once you get to the Jose High Road. This should be right after Operation Mihen when you are walking to the temple. Make sure you switch over to Kamari if you see this thing. It's called a Basilisk. Make sure you use the Lancet ability on it to learn Stone Breath. Next one is going to be once you are in the Macalania Woods. Walking around, you should see this enemy called the Chimera. It's going to be one of the rarer enemies, so it might not appear right away, so just keep running into enemy encounters. Once you spot one, make sure you switch over to Kamari, use Lancet on it to learn Aqua Breath. This next one is going to be semi-story based. It is going to be story based your first encounter with this enemy. However, a variant of it does appear later on, which is unmissable, so don't worry about missing it here if you do. But once you get to Bavel, you should crash this wedding scene right here. You are going to be fighting these warrior monks on your way to the altar. They should have robots with them. You want to use Lancet on this taller robot, and that should give you Thrust Kick. So if you miss it here, it's going to reappear again on your walk to the second Seymour fight, which is at the end of the Bavel chapter. And then if you happen to miss it there, this enemy is going to reappear in a different form once you get to Xanarkand. And that one is unmissable since you can just airship back to Xanarkand. Next one after that is going to be this one. This is in the Calmlands. You are going to have the Marlborough. Make sure you use Lancet on it. It's a pretty rare appearing enemy, and it's also pretty tough, especially if it gets an ambush, because it will use Bad Breath on you and mess you up. So hopefully you get the first attack, switch over to Kamari, and use Lancet to get Bad Breath. Next one after that, right before you go to Mount Gagazet, this is when you are leaving the Calmlands. You want to go under the bridge. This little detour is going to take you to kind of a side objective. You can go to this area called the Cavern of the Stolen Faith. In here, there are some enemies, but the enemy you are looking for your next Lancet ability is going to be the Ghost. So just run around until you spot him. He should be the second hardest enemy to find in terms of rarity. So best of luck, but by now you should be working on your monster arena since you have access to it. So you need to find all these guys to capture them anyways. But if you happen to spot one, make sure you use Lancet on it the first time, and you should learn Doom. Alright, once you get to Mount Gagazet for the first time, you should get a bunch of cutscene stuff. This is going to eventually lead into a fight with the two Ronsos, Biran and Yankei. These guys will actually have every single Lancetable ability except for Seed Cannon, Bad Breath, and Nova. The way that Lancet works on these guys is they have to do the ability first, and then if you use Lancet on them, you should learn it. By now, you should have all but two of the Lancet abilities that these guys can use, which is everything except for White Wind and Mighty Guard. So you can take this time to get any that you missed along the way. And as for White Wind and Mighty Guard, there will be locations that are unmissable later on, which you can pick them up, which is where I recommend picking them up, since you don't have to wait for any specific thing in the game to use it. So those locations are going to be once you get to the Mount Gagazet Cave, which is going to be the area right before Xanarkand. In here, there are going to be two enemies that you need to look for. First off, you have the Dark Flan, which is where you learn White Wind, and then the second is going to be the Behemoth, which is where you learn Mighty Guard. So make sure if you didn't get the Lancet abilities from the Ronsos, you make sure you get them here, and these are unmissable because of course you can come back here and these are randomly spawning enemies rather than a story-based fight. So these guys will not only appear in the cave, but they will also appear in the Xanarkand ruins, so you can get them there in case you just want to power through this cave part. The Xanarkand ruins area's enemies will also count as Mount Gagazet area in the monster arena, so you have that to look forward to. So once you get to Xanarkand, once you are in the dome, you can take this advantage to learn Thrust Kick if you happen to miss it when it was available in Bavel. So that is its location in case you missed it the first time around. So make sure you get that if you want. And then the final ability is going to be only available to you once you get the airship. So once you get the airship, you want to go to Sid and then punch in the search command. You want to go to these coordinates right here. It should be this little island to the far right of the map, and this will give you the Omega Ruins. So coordinates are going to be about 7237. Once you unlock the Omega Ruins, you want to head there. This is going to be a post-game dungeon. Once you head there, it's going to be pretty much the area with the hardest enemies in the game, at least in terms of random encounters. But once you get through this dungeon, there is going to be a super boss at the end in the form of Omega Weapon. So the first thing you should do once you start the fight is switch over to Kamari and use Lancet on it in order to get the last ability, which is going to be Nova. If for whatever reason you get too overzealous and kill this guy before you have the chance of Lanceting him, you are going to have to get Nova from Nemesis, which requires you to capture 10 of every monster in the arena, as well as defeat every arena boss. But that's going to be the last ability, 15 gamer score, and that's all there is to it.